You know, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. You know, the United States is not going to pay off that $34 trillion debt anytime soon. They'll just print more money to pay the interest of the debt and thus weaken the U.S. dollar. Maybe you want to think about doing some other kind of investment, a hedge. Maybe you thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. I got to be honest, that's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Golden Coin. Now, here's the way it works. You call to make an appointment, then you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make a precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly. You'll learn a lot. You'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. See, gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times, and my friends at Nashville Golden Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. And by the way, if you have some old coins laying around, gathering dust, it's in an old sock drawer or something like I did, bring them along. You might be surprised to find out just how much they're worth. I know I was. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com. Again, that's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at CaliforniaClosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
.338 Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air all the way till 7 o'clock tonight. Glad you're with us on this Monday, April 29th. I want to do a swamp report here if I could, because I got some stuff here that this story actually crossed late last week, just as we were going off the air on Friday. But there was something about this that told me there was a lot more to this story than meets the eye. And when we first heard about it, and this report, I'm telling you, good work by Susan Crabtree over at RealClearPolitics.com, got to the bottom of what actually happened a short while back when a Secret Service agent assigned to Vice President Kamala Harris was removed from her duties. This happened last Wednesday. It was a weird thing that happened. Now, first thing I need to tell you is Kamala Harris wasn't there. She was at her home at the Naval Observatory in Washington. This happened out at Andrews, Joint Base Andrews, as they were preparing to take a flight, and Secret Service agents were assigned there. Well, this one woman, it turned out to be a woman named Michelle Hersig. They had to subdue her and send her in for medical evaluation. But listen to the tales of this thing. It must have been crazy. Several sources in the Secret Service community identified the agent who physically attacked her superior as Michelle Hersig. The altercation occurred at approximately 9 a.m. at Joint Base Andrews. This is the home base, of course, for Air Force One and Air Force Two. Hersig showed up at the terminal, began acting erratically, grabbing another senior agent's personal phone and deleting applications on it, according to two sources familiar with the matter. The other agent, who was a shift leader, was able to recover his phone and then acted as if nothing had really happened. But Hersig's behavior did not stop. She then began mumbling to herself, hid behind the curtains, and started throwing items, including menstrual pads, at other agents, telling one agent that he would need them later to save another agent, and telling her peers that they were all going to, quote, burn in hell and needed to listen to God. This is, again, according to a source told Real Clear Politics. Hersig also screamed at the special agent in charge, rattling off the names of female officers on the vice president's detail, claiming they would show up and help her and allow her to continue working. At that point, other agents on the scene believed that Hersig was suffering from a mental breakdown of some kind, and the superior officer approached her to tell her that she was relieved from the assignment. That's when she snapped completely, said one source. Hersig chest bumped and shoved her superior, then tackled him and punched him. The agents involved in restraining Hersig were especially concerned because she still had her gun in her holster. They wrestled her to the ground, took the gun from her, cuffed her, and removed her from the terminal. She was removed from the assignment, and then apparently taken in for a medical evaluation. They called medical personnel to remove her and described the incident in their initial report only as some type of medical matter. The agency, at least at that point, said they would not disclose further details, but again, somebody is talking to Real Clear Politics about this, who had a lot of inside and absolutely apparently accurate information. Following the incident, Secret Service, this is where it gets interesting. I mean, even more interesting than that. You say, how can that happen? Well, just listen. Following the incident, Secret Service agents and officers are privately questioning the hiring process and whether the agency had adequately screened Hersig's background. Some also wonder whether her hire was part of a diversity, equity, and inclusion push in response to years of staff shortages that may have required the agency to lower its once strict employment standards and physical performance to reach quotas for female agents and officers. As we start looking into the background of this particular officer, she was on the Dallas police force. In 2016, she filed a gender discrimination lawsuit against the city, claiming she was assaulted by a male superior, and she asked for more than $1 million in damages. The suit alleged that she was targeted for being a female officer and treated less favorably. A Texas trial court dismissed the suit. Hersig appealed, and a Texas Court of Appeals affirmed the lower court's decision and denied a rehearing in 2022. So shot down by two different courts, including the highly regarded Texas Court of Appeals. While serving on the Dallas police force, Hersig and another officer shot an armed man while he sat in a parked car. According to a department spokesman, the officers were firing in self-defense because the man, who had been previously convicted of sexually assaulting a child, was brandishing a weapon and did eventually shoot himself in the head. The headline in the Dallas Observer, however, raised some questions about official police account of the story. Here's what you should know about that. It comes from Ronald Kessler, a former investigative reporter for the Washington Post, who's written several books on the Secret Service. He says the agency would have traditionally viewed the dismissed discrimination lawsuit as disqualifying. that should have been enough to exclude her because you really have to have a pristine record. Certainly, this has been true in the past. There's tremendous competition, and she never should have been hired. So there are claims that the Secret Service standards have been lowered as a result of signing a pledge are categorically false, says the spokesman for the Secret Service. But it is raising questions among the rank-and-file Secret Service agents who are on the protective detail. I mean, Secret Service has several divisions. One of them is the uniform division. They are the nice people who check you in when you go to the White House. And they also do some work around protecting different embassies around town. But the uniform, the ununiformed, the Secret Service agents that are in the protective duties, they're a whole different level. And they're supposed to be the best of the best of the best. And in my experience, all the years I was in Washington on the White House beat, I found them to be a remarkably professional organization. But this story raises real questions, not only about what happened with this individual, but second of all, have they lowered the standards in order to meet some kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion requirement of the Biden administration? How about that? This is a week where we may see some action, or we may not. It's sort of up in the air right now against Mike Johnson, the Speaker. As you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, has put forth an MTV. No, not the thing where they play music videos. Do they still play music video? I don't think they do. Well, one way there's not that MTV, a motion to vacate the chair. And she doesn't seem to be willing to back down on this thing. And she says it's just a matter of time when she calls for the motion. Now, the way it looks right now, because there is I think a 1-vote margin right now, the Republicans have the majority by 1 vote in the House of Representatives. And if you get 2 or 3 people who say, no, Mike Johnson has got to go, that normally would be it. Because, you would need all the Republicans to vote in favor of Johnson, or the chair would be vacated. And then we'd have to go through that whole thing we went through to get Johnson. Some Democrats are saying that a handful of them would come across the aisle and support Johnson to keep him in the office. But then how strong are you as Speaker of the Republican Party and the Republican leader of the House if you have to be saved by a handful of Democrats? So this is going to happen this week. Something is going to happen. They say, keep an eye. Normally, they come in on a Tuesday, so I wouldn't imagine anything happening until sometime tomorrow at the earliest. But the real question is, will Marjorie Taylor Greene actually go forward and pull the trigger on the motion to vacate? So far, she's talked about doing it, but it's been a threat more than a reality. But she says it's going to happen. We'll see when. The White House is denying that there was a secret plot to get rid of Karine Jean-Pierre as the press secretary. The Biden administration denying there was a secret internal plot to get rid of Karine Jean-Pierre, a scheme first reported by the New York Post. Deputy White House Press Secretary Andrew Bates forcefully rejected claims from multiple sources with knowledge of the plans, which included longtime senior advisor Anita Dunn, supported by White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, recruiting prominent outside Democrats to urge Jean-Pierre to voluntarily make her exit. They say this did not happen. It did not happen. Those are wildly false claims. But the reality is the polar opposite. She was never approached by anyone with such a message. She spends 4 hours a day preparing every day. Boy, if she spends 4 hours a day preparing, and that's what you get. I wonder about, how much serious preparing is really going on there. But they say that neither Jeff Zients or Anita Dunn had done anything. However, there is this. This weekend was what they call the Nerd Prom in Washington. The White House Correspondents' Dinner, not the Gridiron Dinner, as the president called it. It's the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's where all of the people who cover the White House dress up in their finest. The guys wear tuxedos and the women put on their ball gowns, and they all go to have this big dinner. And the president usually comes and speaks, and Biden did this time. But a lot of people go there, and it's a mix and mingle thing. It really is. And you're rubbing elbows with the very top people of the Biden administration, as well as other people in the media. Our friend Steve Doocy from the Fox and Friends morning show was there, as was his son, and Steve says he had a very interesting conversation with a high-ranking individual, and this is exactly what he said this morning on Fox and Friends.
Actually, at that event, I was there, a White House official, a very high-ranking person, told me that the story was absolutely true. They would like her to step aside, but she just won't go.
So there you go. I don't know who to believe, but why would a high-ranking White House official tell Steve Doocy that if there wasn't something to the report? 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. There are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take pressure off your nerves if you have an aching or hurting back. No, you have choices here. One of them is surgery, and the other is to try something called non-invasive spinal decompression. I choose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and I'm glad that I did because it has really helped me. They have this state-of-the-art facilities and the latest high-tech equipment. Because getting better is so important for Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they're offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine, which is sort of like spinal decompression, except it's for the knee. Your knee is gently elongated, and then that allows the healing therapy to get deeper inside the knee. And if you're a new patient, I don't know what in the world you're waiting on, because it doesn't get any better than this. You can get your exam, your consultation, and first treatment for $23. $23 is all for new patients. If you've got an X-ray or an MRI, bring them in. Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, very good at spotting things that other people have missed. But if you need an X-ray, they'll give you one. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more by going to their website, painisbad.com.
Student protesters at colleges across the country remaining defiant. A man who drowned in Percy Priest Lake has been identified, and a Cheatham County toddler is in critical condition after what's currently being labeled a tragic accident. We'll have those stories at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay. Let's take a look at what's going on in the markets today. The Dow Jones Industrial up 146 today. S&P is up 16, just up a hair. NASDAQ is up a bit over a pop in Tesla stock, up 15% today. So all the screens are vibrantly green. What's going on with the markets and what's up? Let's check in with our good friend John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the market continued right where it left off last week. And to your point, the big winner today was Tesla, up over 15% up until about a week ago. Worst performer in the S&P 500. News over the weekend that they cleared some hurdles in China for their self-driving software potentially. So the market really liked that. And the market's really hoping that big tech's going to be able to continue to push it higher and more forward. Later this week, we've got Apple and Amazon earnings. That's going to be really important. But the big news as well as that will be the Fed meeting this week, expected to leave rates unchanged at a 23-year high, but also to give the market some clues as to whether they still continue to plan to lower rates later this year. So important reports this week.
Yeah, so much of what we're hearing at this time of year is about what will the Fed do? Well, we'll keep a tab on it. By the way, if you have, I'd like to talk to John or some of the other good folks over at Beacon Capital Management about how they can help you get ready for retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It's 59 minutes past the hour now, 3 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and 79 degrees on Music Row, another traffic report, and your weather forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Student protesters were given a deadline to leave their pro-Palestinian encampment at Columbia University or face suspension. They haven't gone anywhere. Here's Dave Packer.
Leave the encampment or face academic suspension. That from Columbia Monday to pro-Palestinian protesters. But as a 2 p.m. deadline passed, it became clear those students were going to stay. Protesters swayed up a lot, blasting the university's ultimatum.
Losing access to their housing, losing access to campus, losing access to health care on campus, and losing their right to graduation if they are a graduating student.
The students were given the opportunity to stay and continue the semester in good standing if they had left the encampment.
New information in the high-profile death of a Colorado mom who went missing on a bike ride back in 2020. Alex Stone has more.
According to a newly released autopsy, Suzanne Morphew died by homicide and that she had a cocktail of drugs in her body, including an opioid, a sedative, and an anesthetic. The coroner saying the compound of drugs is used to immobilize wildlife. Barry Morphew, her husband, was charged with her murder in 2021, but those charges were dropped before a trial and nobody has been arrested since in the case. The autopsy reports her skeletal remains and clothes were found in a shallow grave.
Back here in Nashville crews have recovered the body of a man who drowned after saving someone else in Percy Priest Lake on Saturday night. Metro Police identified the man as Harold L. Tomlinson. He was 34 years of age. His body was recovered from Percy Priest near the dam and Nashville shores on Sunday morning. Tomlinson reportedly jumped into the water from a rented pontoon boat along with several children from the boat. He was trying to save a child who went underwater. Tomlinson was not wearing a personal flotation device and he never resurfaced. It's the first drowning death on the lake this year. And still in Middle Tennessee, a toddler was shot in the head earlier today at a home in Cheatham County. Cheatham County Sheriff Tom Binkley, he told News 2 the shooting happened at a home on Hinton Road in the Henrietta community. The little boy, identified as a 3-year-old, was shot in the head and taken to Vanderbilt University Medical Center via life flight. The sheriff said the child remains in critical condition. One other person was at the home at the time of the shooting. Currently, the shooting appears to be an accident. However, no other information has been released. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. There next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour. Well, almost 8 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, in for another 3 hours. We'll keep going here till about 7 o'clock when we hand it over to Mark Levin. And glad that you're with us. And I want to say a special thank you to all of the people who have been sending me advice. And I appreciate the advice. I like hearing from folks. You know, you can send us a message on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-9986. Love to hear from you there. But, I mean, a lot of people have reached out to me in other ways and said, hey, look, I understand you got a problem with a robin. And I do. I got a robin problem. There is a robin that keeps attacking the window to my studio and just won't give up. And so, you know, I mean, I've tried a lot of different things. I mean, last Friday I thought we had it. Cabana Wife came up here with the pruning shears and trimmed back the limbs that are near the window, thinking, well, if you take away the limbs near the window, then the bird will have no place to perch. Well, this just frustrated the robin even more, and the robin then repeatedly just kept flying into the window and bouncing off of it, and just won't give up. So I did the next best thing. Somebody said, get a rubber snake. Believe it or not, Amazon will send you rubber snakes in one day. I know this because I ordered 4 rubber snakes, and I ordered them on Friday, and they arrived on Saturday, and I put a rubber snake out there on the windowsill, and that doesn't bother this bird at all. Bird keeps coming right back, keeps bouncing into the window. But I think we finally found the solution. For those of you who have been longtime listeners to the show, you know that every holiday, Christmas holiday, just shortly after Thanksgiving, behind me in the background here in the studio, a cutout of Buddy. It's a full-size, life-size cutout of Buddy the Elf makes an appearance over my shoulder. And it's a scary thing. I mean, if you, I know you've seen them around. It's Buddy, and he's very excited, and it frightens me sometimes. I forget it's back there, and I'll turn around thinking somebody's behind me. Well, we took Buddy the Elf out of the storage and put it up in the window like a scarecrow. And you know what? Since Buddy went into that window, we haven't heard that bird hit the window one time. I think we might have solved it. I'm sorry? Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say Will Ferrell is an amazing deterrent, I think.
He's scary. So anyway, if you follow me on Facebook, you can see pictures of all this. But thank you. We got a lot of good advice, but basically what I'm come to understand is this robin is probably it's either mating season for this robin, and it sees the other bird and thinks it's a potential mating partner, I guess, or there's a nest nearby. But one way or the other, people are giving me a bunch of good ideas. But I think that Buddy the Elf may be wouldn't it be funny? Will Ferrell solved my crazed robin problem. Let's talk about some Tennessee news. Governor Bill Lee, as you know, has signed that bill that allows some teachers under certain circumstances who have enhanced concealed carry permits and who jump through a bunch of hoops to actually carry weapons in a classroom. Now, it's not that simple. It's a much more complicated thing than that. But that's the way it gets simplified. And people have lost their ever-loving minds. Some people have lost their ever-loving minds over this. I mean, there were protests at the Capitol. And people who were against this idea shouted down at the state legislatures. They were casting their vote in favor of this, that there would be blood on their hands and that children would die. Well, come to find out that in 32 states already, some version of this is allowed. And in the state of Tennessee, for it to happen, here's the thing. I mean, I have to go through this again. You have to get approval from your police chief or your sheriff, your superintendent of schools, the principal of your schools. You got to go through 40 hours of enhanced training. You have to have an enhanced carry concealed permit to begin with. You have to get a background check, a psych evaluation, and a whole bunch of it. And if all those boxes get checked, then you could be allowed to carry a concealed weapon in the classroom. And, everybody was losing their mind. Well, I mean, as I told everybody when this was going on, this is never going to happen in Davidson County because the superintendent will simply say no, and that's the end of it. And they did. Sumner County did the same thing. Other schools are waiting to see the language now that it's been, but I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of schools in our area. We're going to say, no, we have SROs, it's fine. This was only really designed, as I just hate to keep making this case, but I mean, it's so much wrong information about this particular piece of legislation. Really designed for small rural areas where they're having a hard time getting SROs because they can't find them. And you might, in that particular county, your law enforcement may be a sheriff deputy, and there may be only 3 deputies on patrol in the entire county. Should something happen, it could potentially take somebody 20, 25 minutes to get there. We know that in the Covenant shooting, we had 6 people killed in 3 minutes, and police arrived 8 minutes after the call went out. So, I mean, moments count in times like this. And if it were true that by passing this law that children would die, then why haven't we heard a bunch of stories about what they're doing in Alabama or what they're doing in these other 31 states around the country? Because they're doing it already in some of these places. And again, I've not been overwhelmed. I've not seen story after story after story about how something went terribly wrong by a teacher who was carrying a concealed weapon. So again, big overreaction, huge overreaction to this story. But the governor signed it, and he said when he did that he wanted to make sure that that schools had options, and that's all. And so that happened. But I mean, people are still absolutely losing their minds after it. This weekend, according to News Channel 5, dozens of people showed up at the gubernatorial mansion here in Nashville to voice their frustration. They believe the law will do more harm than good, putting school children in danger. It's really terrifying to think that an adult in the building would have a gun and I not have any knowledge about it, said Tennessee mom Abby Wisenhut. Lawmakers in support say it will help rural counties that don't have SROs and have large emergency response times because they have limited law enforcement in their particular county. But these protesters say more people oppose it than support it. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you live in Davidson County, this ain't going to happen. I have a feeling there's not going to be many Metro Nashville school districts right around Nashville where this is going to be used. But one way or the other, if it does, we'll let you know. But here's the other thing. So 12 protesters come and they show up out inside of the governor's mansion and they make a bunch of noise. Governor's not there. Governor doesn't spend his weekends at the gubernatorial mansion. Everybody knows that. So hope made it feel better. It got you a little publicity. Governor wasn't there, unless it was an unusual situation because he's usually not there on weekends. Governor has signed a bill into law that provides, I love this, provides visitation rights for hospital patients. And it goes back to the time of COVID. And according to State Representative Kip Capley, Republican of Summertown, who sponsored the House version of the bill, I'm sure many of you can remember during COVID and several other epidemics that we've had, we had family members in Tennessee that had to make tough life or death decisions behind a pane of glass. What we're saying in this legislation is that stops. We're not going to do that anymore. Under the new law, someone's medical power of attorney has the right to visit the patient in the hospital at least once a day for at least an hour. Makes clear that a patient has the right to refuse that person's visit. Capley said Tennesseans should have the right to care and advocate for their loved ones while in the hospital, even if there's a public health emergency. We're going to stand for Tennessee families. The hospital has to make reasonable effort during normal visitation hours for you to be able to see your loved one, to make medical decisions while you're in the hospital setting. I'm telling you, I'm glad. You know, we talk about Nashville being an up-and-coming town, and it really is. I mean, we're an it city, no doubt about it. What is it? Something like 86 people every day move into the greater Nashville area. Used to be 100, but I think it's about 86 right now, last time somebody checked. 5 Tennessee hotels have been named among the best of the best by TripAdvisor. Let's go through them real quick because I just happen to have this is according to the Tennessean. Where that's about the kind of reporting they do these days, about top 10 list. The Joseph in Nashville named the top hotel in the U.S. It ranked number 19 out of 25 with a 5-star rating. It's all the little things about the Joseph Nashville, from the top-notch amenities to the thoughtful details in every room. The hotel combines effort with a touch of retro style, with an impressive collection of art sprinkled throughout the property. So there you go. 2 Sevierville spots are listed as the top inns in the country. Berry Springs Lodge in Sevierville, Blue Mountain Mist Country Inn and Cottages. 2 luxury hotels get the nod in the luxury category. Hotel Nashville ranked number 18, with TripAdvisor saying its attention to details is what set it apart, with comfortable rooms, a fitness center, yoga classes, and a spa. Friendly staff and top-notch service make this the spot to a true standout. The other is the J.W. Marriott, is number 25 on the list. And it is a beautiful restaurant. I like to go up there and eat dinner sometimes. Excellent service and a luxurious feel. It's a great hotel for your next Nashville adventure, the website says. So there you go. We have, of course, what we do is hospitality is a lot of what we do here. And it's caused Nashville to be, a place where people come to party. People come to party and they look around and they come in and they stay. The other day, when Oracle let it be known that they were going to move their national headquarters to the Nashville area and take it, and boy, was Austin ticked off about that. Too bad. It leaked out, and everybody started doing features. Well, there's a big feature in the Wall Street Journal. Nashville is booming, but locals fret about their future in Music City. Now, this is what you see in a town that's growing, is that people who live here and have lived here for a long time don't want to see the growth, but it really is growing, and I don't think that's going to stop. And it goes on to talk about some of the reason it's growing. It has a lot to do with I think, the fact that we are a state where you don't have an income tax, and so a lot of companies are now moving here, and that drives more people to move to Nashville. The average house in Nashville area, I thought an interesting statistic, $414,000 for the average home in the Nashville area. But if you come in from someplace like California or another big market, and many people are moving in here from some of those major cities, $414,000 doesn't sound so bad. 21 past the hour now, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
A deadly active shooter situation is currently ongoing in Metro Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll have the latest on that, and we'll also have today's closing money news. Those stories at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's what I hear. Oh, man. Yeah, that's right. It's a woke. Oh, they're not done. I mean, I know. I apologize. This song will be in your head all day long, won't it?
I was about to say when you told me you were playing it, oh no.
There you go. All right. Well, we do have some woke news to share with you. And honestly, if you own a business right now, you need to hear this story. And this is coming to a workplace near you. Feds have warned now that employers can be punished for failing to use preferred transgender pronouns and restrooms. There is new EEOC guidelines that came down today that changed this. And a landmark guidance the Federal Commission created to fight racial and sexual discrimination declared Monday that employers that fail to use a worker's preferred pronoun or refuse them the chance to use the restroom of their choice will be engaging in prohibited harassment. The U.S. EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Commission, has published new harassment guidelines Monday after voting along partisan lines on Friday to approve them, even in the face of opposition from nearly 24 red states. 3 Democrat appointees approved the rules. The 2 Republicans opposed them. The new document elevates gender identity as a protected class under discrimination laws like race, sex, and religion. Prohibited harassment includes, quote, repeated and intentional use of a name or pronoun inconsistent with the individual's known gender identity, this is sometimes called misgendering, or the denial of access to a bathroom or other sex-segregated facilities consistent with the individual's gender identity, the new regulatory document declared. And, you can see this online, and they gave guidance and hypothetical examples. Chloe, a purchase order coordinator at a retail store warehouse, is approached by her supervisor, Alton, who asked whether she was born a man because he had heard rumors that she was a transvestite and that there was a transvestite in the department. Chloe disclosed to Alton that she is transgendered and asked him to keep this information confidential. After this conversation, Alton instructed Chloe to wear pants to work because a dress would be inappropriate, despite other purchase order coordinators being permitted to wear dresses and skirts. Alton also asked inappropriate questions about Chloe's anatomy and sexual relationships. Further, whenever Alton is frustrated with Chloe, he misgenders her by using with emphasis he/him pronouns, sometimes in front of Chloe's coworkers. Based on these facts, Alton's harassing conduct toward Chloe is based on her gender identity, the document states. 20 Republican state attorneys general told the EEOC last November that the agency's efforts to impose restrictions on pronouns in bathrooms were not authorized by the ruling of any action of Congress, but apparently the EEOC doesn't care. By a vote of 3-2, they have now said that if you do these things in the workplace, you can be the subject of an EEOC investigation. And then there's this, a federal appellate court in Richmond became the first in the country to rule that state health care plans must pay for gender-affirming surgeries. And this is seen as a major win for transgender rights amid a nationwide wave of anti-trans activism in the legislation, this according to the Washington Post. Decision came from a set of cases in North Carolina and West Virginia, where state officials argued their policies were based on cost concerns rather than bias. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit Court rejected that argument, saying the plans were discriminating against trans people in need of treatment. What that means also is that because from what we've heard in past stories, this is a very expensive process. It could well cause your health insurance prices to go up. And I'll just leave you with this headline. Governor DeSantis says that Florida will not comply with new Title IX rules and says we will fight back. We're not going to let Joe Biden abuse his constitutional authority to impose these policies here in Florida. We're not going to let Biden get away with it, says Governor DeSantis. 31 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news.
Good afternoon. It is 4:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Clouds and 79 degrees on Music Row. Your forecast and a traffic report are just ahead. At least one U.S. Marshal is dead, and numerous other law enforcement officials have been wounded after gunfire erupted earlier today in a suburban neighborhood just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. That's according to several media reports. The shooting broke out just before 2 o'clock Eastern, when the Marshal's task force was working an investigation in the area, and one of the subjects opened fire on them. Multiple officers have been hit and taken to the hospital in unknown conditions. There has been a death, according to WSOC TV, and that is reported to be a deputy U.S. Marshal. At least 3 other officers have been wounded, according to the outlet, and one of at least 2 suspects has also been wounded. Reports suggest the suspects have barricaded themselves inside a home, and police describe the situation as still active. This is an ongoing story. And today's money news. Here is the closing report for you, with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks got a bit of a boost ahead of a week which is packed with reports that could move the market substantially. The Dow closed up 146 points. The Nasdaq added 55 for the session, and the S&P closed up 16 points. Shares of Tesla stock rallied after the electric vehicle maker's CEO, Elon Musk, paid an unexpected visit to Beijing over the weekend. Chinese officials reportedly told Musk that Beijing has tentatively approved Tesla's full self-driving, or FSD, software. Japan's currency took a major tumble. For a moment, it was 16 yen to the U.S. dollar, which is back to where it was in 1990, just after Japan's famous bubble economy burst. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's opened an investigation into Ford's Blue Cruise partially automated driving system after 2 fatal crashes. Both involved Ford's Mustang Mach-E electric vehicles.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley over there can help you if you're in pain, arms, leg, neck, back, get a tingling in your extremities. All these things can be made better through something known as non-surgical spinal decompression. Now, really, when it comes to pain in your back, there are just 2 options. One is surgery, go under the knife. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. Doesn't it make sense to try that one first before you take the most, difficult route, the surgery? I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and it worked for me. It really made a difference. Their state-of-the-art facilities have the latest high-tech equipment and offer the latest non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is important to Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half off KT, half off the spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine. Now, the KT machine, if you don't know, sort of like spinal decompression, it gently elongates the knee and allows the healing therapy to get deeper within your knee. Listen, here's the thing. If you are a new patient, this doesn't cost you hardly anything to get started. You'll be shocked at how easy it is. $23 for your first appointment, your exam, your consultation, and treatment. $23. You know, I put my name as a stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is 39 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And Kristi Noem is in the doghouse. That's right. The governor of South Dakota is in the doghouse because, well, she shot a dog. Well, it was 20 years ago, and she has an explanation for it. But for a lot of people, this automatically disqualifies her as a vice presidential candidate on the Trump ticket. And I want to know what you think about this. This is where we open up the phone line, 615-737-9986, and get your opinion about this, because I'm finding that people have very strong opinions about it. Now, while you're calling in and maybe you've heard the story and you have something you want to say, I'm going to give you the background. 615-737-9986. She's got a new book coming out. And from an excerpt in the book, she describes, I don't know why you would excerpt this, but she did, shooting and killing her 14-month-old wire-haired pointer Cricket due to the dog's poor behavior. This according to thehill.com. The story has garnered mass criticism online, and the Democrats are having a lot of fun with it, as you might imagine. She got on X and tried to explain a little bit more about it. I can understand why some people are upset about a 20-year-old story of Cricket, one of the working dogs at our ranch. It's in my upcoming book, No Going Back. The book is filled with many honest stories of my life, good days, bad days, challenges, painful decisions, and lessons learned. Noam defended her decision to kill the dog and to share the story, saying it shows constituents that she is authentic, willing to learn from her past, and doesn't shy away from tough challenges. And then she goes on to say, the fact is, South Dakota law states that dogs who attack and kill livestock can be put down. Given that Cricket had shown aggressive behavior toward people by biting them, I decided what I did. She talked about how the Cricket had chased away pheasants during a hunting trip, ruining the hunt, and that later the Cricket had attacked a local family's chickens. She said, quote, I hated that dog, adding that Cricket was untrainable, dangerous, and worthless as a hunting dog. At that moment, she wrote, I realized I had to put her down. She then led Cricket to a gravel pit on her property and shot it, writing it was not a pleasant job, but it had to be done. She also talked about how she had to kill a nasty and mean male goat that smelled and liked to chase her children. Because it jumped down when she first shot at the goat, she needed 2 shots, she said, to finish the job. This, of course, comes as Noam is under consideration to be former President Trump's running mate. The governor reportedly on a final list of possibilities to be the vice president. Some other people have reported that she has no shot as Trump's vice president after this. And according to The Guardian, this is a New York Post, says that Trump likes Christie a lot, but was disappointed about hearing the dog story. So here's my question for you. I mean, because, I do think that people who live in the country, especially those that live on ranches and farms, have a different opinion about animals than those who, may have their friendly pet, like my much beloved Grogu. And it's sort of hard to understand and hard to imagine how that might happen. But I want to know, does this disqualify in your mind Kristi Noem as a vice presidential running mate? 615-737-9986. What do you think about Kristi Noem, who is reportedly in the doghouse? I mean, she's getting a lot of criticism from dog lovers, and the Democrats they're howling about it, if you excuse the bad pun. No doubt trying to make a lot of noise about it. 615-737-9986. Let's start with Bo in Portland. Bo, you're on with Brian on Super Talk 99.7. Bo, what do you think about this?
Good afternoon, sir. I think that, God forbid we all have to put some animals down. I've had to do it, and it really hurts. But I can see why she had to do this. And honestly, yes, it hurt her, and she probably won't recover from it, but she didn't do any wrong.
Well, I mean, when you say you've had to put down an animal, I mean, this happens I think many people have had the experience of a lifelong pet who reaches, near the end of life, and the animal begins to suffer, and you have to go to the vet and do that. I mean, that I think is very different than this. Is that your personal experience where things like this have had to happen?
I've had to because of old age and also because of aggression. They went to bite somebody, or it was the animal could not be trusted around people or other animals, so therefore there was no room to let it carry on and perhaps hurt somebody really bad.
So let me just make sure I'm getting your point on this. You're saying, I have done it. I understand why she might have wanted to do it or had to do it in a situation like that, but you don't think it should stop her from being a vice president. You just think that it will probably because, people don't understand that.
Yes, sir. You hit it on the head.
All right, Bo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
People are going crazy here. Let's go to Dennis out on the road. Hello, Dennis. You're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Dennis?
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I totally agree with Bo. People just don't think this is a major talking point. I think it is only for the snowflakes, and I believe that they're going to blow this up and, turn this into something that it's bigger. They're turning it into something bigger than it really is.
Do you think she should have written about it?
Probably not. No, some things better off left unsaid.
Yeah. And there's no doubt about it. It's a self-inflicted wound, a political wound. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people are saying, well, okay, maybe that's something that you had to do, but why would that be something you'd put in your book? I think that's a fair question. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, totally agree with you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. Gary in Harnwall. Gary, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. So Kristi Noem had to put down a dog she said had a bad temperament. And she felt like it was a dangerous dog and not any good at hunting. Do you understand it, or does it irritate you?
I do understand it. Her choice of wording is baffling to me. I've had to euthanize horses because of sickness. I had to euthanize a dog because of fighting and killing other animals and stuff like that. So I do understand it. I put down goats, but if you're going to put this in a book and you're running for political office, you can say that you had to euthanize animals, but to describe it the way she did, this is truly self-inflicted, and she deserved what she gets.
So you think she's out? You don't think she has any chance?
I don't know that. There's a lot of people I don't know that can look past it. Somebody that owns a farm like I do, I don't have a problem with it.
But you think the average person who has a pet and loves their dog or their cat more than life itself, you don't think they can get past this?
Yeah, they can't understand why a cow's got to go to freezer camp, so they don't understand these things.
All right, listen, Gary, thank you much. I appreciate it. Let's go to Christopher out on the road. Hey, Christopher, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. Kristi Noem killed a dog, had to shoot a goat, apparently. And she explains why she had to do it, said the dog had aggressive tendencies. Do you think this should eliminate her, or will it eliminate her as a vice presidential running mate?
Well, I do, because of, you're dealing with Democrats, and then they're going to target in on anything that anybody that's a possible candidate is going to say or do, because apparently they don't have anything else better to do than just to look at, someone else is wrong and not so much theirs. But
right,
I don't disagree with what she, maybe I agree with what some of the others had said about, writing about it. I don't disagree with what she had to do, because it's just, if you were raised up in the country or on a farm, it's just one of those things that comes around. It's part of life. Some people's too attached to their pets, in my opinion. And, I get that. We have pets. I wouldn't ever want to have to put one down. I've never had to put one down. But, I don't think that she should be criticized to the, stoned to death with words over a dog.
But did she do it to herself, in your estimation?
Well, yeah. Obviously, by putting it in this book, yes, she absolutely did.
Yeah. All right, Christopher, thank you so much. I'm going to get to maybe one more call in, if I could, please. How about on line 3, an anonymous caller? We don't normally have anonymous callers, but what's on your mind? Do you have a different viewpoint of this, perhaps?
It's about the same. I farmed all my life, raised on a farm, and you get dogs in your cattle. You get dogs in, you got baby calves being born. You got aggressive animals coming up to them. You got to do something. You try to talk to the owners and get them to control their animals. We're sitting there on the farm and we control our animals. We got dogs, and we got them fixed where they can't go to other people's property. We put the collars on them where they can't go but so far. But a lot of these people that move the city out of the city to the country, they don't understand, and the people in general just don't understand.
Well, should it disqualify her?
I don't think it should disqualify her, but I think it is going to hurt her.
Yeah,
I think it's going to hurt her. I mean, because you're dealing with very few people live on the farm and farm for a living and know what you have to deal with.
Yep. All right. Listen, thank you so much. Interesting conversation. Look, I can't believe she wrote this. I mean, there's just some stories that perhaps you shouldn't tell, and perhaps to me the greatest sin here is that the decision was made a long time ago, 20 years ago. But why in the world would you put this in a book? I mean, that's a judgment call about how people are going to react, and you want to run and be the vice president of the United States. Why, sort of maybe suggest a lack of judgment about what you should put in your book. I don't know. I think that's the greatest sin there. But one way or the other, thank you for your calls. Great conversation. 51 past the hour now. I'm a big fan of the folks over at Busy Bee. Busy Bee. If you need heat or cold AC, you know the numbers, 775-7833. They'll buzz over to your house, get you fixed. And I tell you right now, at this time of year, you need both sides of your HVAC system working because it's cool at night and it's warm during the day. See, that's what the Beehive Club is all about, though, because if you do regular maintenance on your systems, you're much less likely to have a problem crop up at the worst possible moment. And become a member of the Beehive Club, here's how it works. For as little as $99, you receive the following: 3 annual tune-ups, 1 on your heating system, 1 on your cooling system, 1 aimed at plumbing. You get a 10% discount on repairs, priority front-of-the-line service. You get $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000. No overtime or holiday fees ever. And you get the word on exclusive Busy Beehive member promotions. And here's the thing. If you have a heating and cooling project, if you can pay it off in 15 months, you can get 0% interest. And for plumbing projects, it's 18 months. So there you go. Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybehvac.com. All right, coming up in the next hour of the drive, boy, there are some numbers that came out with regard to the presidential race, and they are great for Donald Trump and horrible for Joe Biden. I mean, this is a big number. We'll tell you all about it coming up in the next hour. Stay where you are. You're listening to The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at Beacon Capital Management. Listen, are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? This is something that really worries a lot of people, or maybe you haven't even thought about it. But when it comes time to cash in all of those investments you've been making for your retirement, you got to make sure that you know how much you're going to have to owe in taxes. It's a big surprise for a lot of people. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, or any other tax-deferred retirement account. But Beacon Capital Management can give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirements by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule a free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number. You ready? Write it down. 615-488-9303. Again, 615-488-9303. Learn more by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com.
Good evening. It is 5:01 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 78 degrees on Music Row. We'll get that latest traffic report and a weather forecast to you here in just a few minutes. Students from universities around the world are joining in the protests against the war in Gaza. Inez de la Catara from ABC News. She has more from Paris.
Universities around the world are joining in to protest against the ongoing war in Gaza. In Canada, a joint McGill-Concordia encampment has been set up on McGill's campus. In the UK, the University College of London, Oxford University, and Warwick University, among others, are also joining in. Protests have also popped up at Sciences Po and the Sorbonne in Paris, at La Sapienza in Italy, and as far as Melbourne University in Australia.
Negotiators are meeting today in Cairo to try to work out a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Israel's foreign minister has said his country would delay a planned offensive in the city of Rafah in exchange for the release of at least some of the hostages that have been held since last October's attack. ABC's Karen Travers, she has the latest from the Biden administration.
The White House says Hamas needs to accept the ceasefire deal that is on the table. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
It is way past time to get these hostages home. It is way past time to get to a ceasefire. And we need to make sure we continue to get that humanitarian aid.
Jean-Pierre said Secretary of State Antony Blinken will continue his diplomatic effort in the region and keep up the pressure on Hamas to accept the proposal.
Here's an update on that active shooter situation in Charlotte, North Carolina. 3 law enforcement officers have now died after numerous officers were shot in a neighborhood in the Charlotte area. CBS News reports 2 police officers and a U.S. Marshal died in the shooting. Other officers also injured. Charlotte Mecklenburg police reported about 5 o'clock that the scene was now clear and at least one suspect has been found dead. 2 other people in the home are being questioned. Authorities said the incident happened when the U.S. Marshal's task force was trying to serve an arrest warrant and were engaged by active gunfire from a subject. And finally, here in Nashville, a man wanted for a July 4th homicide last year at a Nashville apartment complex has been arrested. Nashville police said that Kiwan Jordan Cole was arrested Sunday morning after he ran a red light at the intersection of 12th Avenue South and DeFord Bailey Avenue. Police initiated a traffic stop. He stopped, but then he bailed out of the car and took off running. He was captured after a foot chase. Officers then found he had an outstanding criminal homicide warrant. Police had identified Jordan Cole, 22 years of age, as one of the suspects in the July 4th shooting of Christopher Harris at the Overlook Apartments last year. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 5 o'clock. It's time to start hour number 3 of The Drive here on Super Talk 99.7. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about here today. We're watching, the unrest in the school campuses around the country. I think some of the universities have finally got to the point where they're just fed up with the mess. Columbia in New York, which is where, you see a lot of coverage out of Columbia. Well, that's because it's in New York. Things that happen in New York are apparently more important than things that happen in your backyard. But nonetheless, I've had a lot of coverage of that. They put out a 2 o'clock East Coast, which 1 o'clock our time. Well, that was 4 hours ago. They said, listen, you need to leave voluntarily, and sort of suggested that if they didn't, that there would be some arrests made. And there have been a few arrests, but by and large at Columbia, it was an idle threat. And they did say that if you're a student and you don't leave, then you will be, basically persona non grata as far as the university is going to be dismissed from the university. I don't think it's going to change things dramatically, because I'm pretty convinced that the vast majority of people who are at these protests are not students. Oh, maybe I'm sure there's a smattering of students in there, but the vast majority are not students. I think that they are professional protesters. And I think that they are being paid to be there and cause this problem. A lot of people have said that, this is maybe being sort of fomented is the word I'm looking for, fomented by the Chinese just to cause civil unrest in America. Now, at the University of Texas at Austin, Austin is such a weird little town. It's very liberal. It's a very liberal enclave. It's like an island of blue and a very sea of crimson red. Everything outside of Austin proper is very conservative, but in Austin itself, it's a very liberal town. But you have a governor there who is saying we're not having none of this, and he's brought in the state patrol and SWAT teams and all kinds of police presence, and they are clearing it out at the University of Texas at Austin. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Again, I mean, I'm sure there are some kids who are go to these schools that are involved in these protests, but I really do believe that the majority of them are professional agitators, quite frankly. Isn't it interesting that they cover their face? They don't want you to know who they are. So anyway, we'll watch it. It's continuing to develop. I got to tell you, if I had a kid in college right now where this was going on, I would be just, okay, like Columbia. You sent everybody home and said, we'll finish out the school year remote learning, only like we did during COVID. Then I'd say, okay, then refund me some of that tuition money that I sent you. Because I didn't give you tuition money for my kid to do remote learning. I gave you tuition money for my kid to go to college and get an education. That they can't get this under control is baffling to me, or that they're unwilling to get it under control. And I'm not sure that they hate it as much as a lot of people do. I think there are many people on campus, within the administration and within the faculty for sure, who think it's completely fine to be anti-Semitic. But in one way or the other, it continues to go on, and we'll continue to keep an eye on it for you. I want to do some 2024 news because there is a poll out from CNN over the weekend that was, eye-popping. Again, remember, when we do polls here on this program, we like to look at the battleground polls. I still believe battleground polls are where it's at because, certainly there are a certain number of states around the country where you're always going to have a blue. It's going to be very blue, and a certain number that are red. And it really comes down to this handful of states that they call battleground states. That determine exactly how it's all going to go. But it doesn't hurt to look at the general election number now and then because you find some interesting stuff when you look. And CNN came out with a general election poll that is, CNN, ladies and gentlemen, it's eye-popping. When I saw this, I went, holy moly, that's a thing. In a two-way matchup, remember the way they do this most times is they'll do a two-way matchup, then they'll do the five-way. All right? So in the two-way matchup, in this CNN poll, if the election were held today, Trump would win, according to this poll, by 6 points. That's huge. That's really big. And then if you do what I think is the more accurate number, which is to look at the five-way race, because, we're not going to have just two candidates. We're probably going to have 3, 4, or more. If you look at the five-way race with the RFK in there and Stein and West and everybody all together, Trump wins by 9. That's a landslide right there, if that were to be true. So CNN says he may be in the courthouse, but he may be headed to the White House before long if these numbers hold up. Now, I got to tell you, there are other numbers out there that don't reflect this to show a much tighter race, but this is something. If there's any merit at all, and remember, it comes from CNN. Then there's a Harvard-Harris poll that came out. I said, well, okay, is it even close to this? It's not far off. Harvard-Harris poll shows in a two-way matchup, they have, instead of Trump winning by 6, they have him winning by 4. And then instead of having in the five-way race him winning by 9, they have him winning by 7. They also did a four-way, a three-way, I think it is a three-way, Trump, Biden, and RFK Jr. By the way, RFK Jr. is pulling 16% in this CNN poll. But in a three-way, they have Trump winning by 4. So these numbers are, I got to tell you, a little different than some of the other numbers that are out there. Like I can look at here's the five-way averages, just some of the polls that have come lately. I'm going to go back maybe 10. New York Times, Siena has Trump winning by 1. NBC News has Biden winning by 2. Emerson has Trump winning by 4. Marist has Biden winning by 5. Quinnipiac has a tie. CNN has Trump winning by 9. The Economist has a tie. And then Harvard-Harris, which I just told you about, has Trump winning by 7. These, so they're all over the place. But I will say, in the last 4 polls, let's see, in the last 3 polls, there seems to be movement toward Trump. But again, who knows how these things are all going to work out. By the way, let me go back just so you know. Real Clear Politics does an average of polls. Right now, if you average all of their polls, just, a battleground, not battleground, but your 5, just your regular averages, Trump versus Biden, they have Trump winning by 1.3. Now, that's averaging out a bunch of different races, a bunch of different polls. 5-way, Trump wins by 1.6. And you look at the battleground states, and I think this is a more telling number, on average, Trump leads by 3.3. Now, that's still all within the margin of error, but still. Now, when you look at the battleground states themselves, Wisconsin, on average, Trump leads by 1.8. That's tight. But Arizona, the average is that Trump wins by 5. Georgia, Trump wins by 4. Let's see. Nevada, Trump wins by 4.8. North Carolina, Trump wins by 5.4. The 3 states where it's really close, Wisconsin, where Trump leads by 1.8. Michigan, where Trump leads by 1.3. And Pennsylvania, again, averages, he leads by 0.6, less than 1 point. I think that to win the 270 electoral college votes that he needs to become president, he's got to win 2 out of the 3, Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. And that's so it's still pretty tight. And by the way, if you want to know my personal opinion, the way I look at these polls, they are tightening. They are getting tighter, except for this CNN poll and except for this Harvard-Harris poll, which just came out, which shows if there's something going on, we'll see it in other polls. But those numbers are very, very, very positive for Trump, not at all positive for Biden. If I saw that number, I would be very disappointed if I were part of the Biden campaign right now. So there's just a look at some of those numbers. I want to point out that also that according to this story from wokespy.com, they're quoting an Edison Research Network. They broke down over 18,000 respondents by gender and marital status, and they found that one category of demographic does not like preferred Democrats over Republicans, and that is unmarried women. But the other categories, married men, married women, and unmarried men, prefer Republicans by sizable numbers. Married men by 20 points. Married women, it's 56% prefer Republicans, 42% prefer Democrats. Unmarried men, 52% prefer Republicans, and 45% prefer Democrats. It's only that one category of demographics, unmarried women, where they find it's like 70% of unmarried women prefer Democrats. Tells you a little bit about how the demographics are breaking down. There's a lot out there that makes me think that at the last moment, people are not going to be able to pull the trigger for Joe Biden unless something changes at the Democrat convention. What would it be? I don't know. Maybe he gets a new running mate where people could say, okay, I couldn't vote for Joe Biden if Kamala was the backup. But if I have a more reliable or more acceptable backup, then maybe I could vote for Joe Biden, knowing that there's somebody there who could step in should Joe start to not be able to make it. I don't think, I think if you're thinking Joe Biden is really running the country right now, I don't think you're in touch with reality, because I don't think he is. I think his staff is running the country right now, and he is nothing more than a figurehead. I don't know how anybody can look at Joe Biden and believe that he's in charge. But one way or the other, it is tightening up. 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, listen, be honest with me. Are you happy with your weight? Now, I decidedly am not happy with mine, or I wasn't. I started regaining a lot of the weight that I lost last year, and I decided, you know what? Before this thing gets out of control, I am going to do something about it. And I went to the Restoration Wellness Med Spa in Lebanon. Now, Jamie and Carly, by the way, remarkably nice people. They took a different approach. They don't do a one-size-fits-all. They look at you, they talk to you about your history, they discuss your lifestyle, and then you come up with an approach that's, and in my case, it's starting to show real results. Now, amazingly, the other thing I like about it is I don't have the tremendous appetite that I had, and I'm not hungry, which is very important. Beyond that, Cabana Wife and I are undergoing peptide therapy at Restoration Wellness Med Spa and are thrilled with the results. We've both noticed greater mental clarity and increased energy. So whether your goal is to lose weight or just in other ways to improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness Med Spa has a solution for you. Maybe it's time for you to join more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results. Here's the number, 615-470-8124. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Pro-Palestinian protests continue on college campuses across the country. The Biden administration completing its investigation into alleged human rights violations of Palestinians. And locally, a 3-year-old Cheatham County boy is fighting for his life after a tragic shooting. Those stories coming up at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We normally would have Mac Morey's wide, wacky world of sports, but Mac has a day off today. He's off taking care of. Well, he cares more about his dog than, let's say, Kristi Noem did about cricket. He's out doing some dog stuff today. He'll be back tomorrow. But I can tell you that the one thing we were going to talk about was, how the Predators. Oh, hold it. Is he calling in now? I think he may be calling in now. Hang on a second. I see action. I see things happening.
Yep.
Hold on a minute. Then we have to do this then.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
Yeah, there he is. He's Mac Morey, because this is time for Mac Morey's wide, wacky world of sports. And now here, without further ado, on the phone today, because he's dealing with his dog issues. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. It's Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen. The crowd goes wild. All right, Mac.
Hello. Hey, what's going on, Brian?
I'm good, doing great. So, as you know, you're dealing with your dog today because you love your dog. And apparently a lot more than Kristi Noem like cricket. But one way or the other, well, let's talk about sports, okay? Because the Predators. I mean, I watched that game, that second game. The first one I thought, man, they were never in it. The second one I looked at and I said, this is feeling real good until like the last 3 minutes of the game, and then it fell apart.
Oh, man, it was so sad, Brian. I was at both games. Friday, you're exactly right. Friday, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in the stadium. Until about 2 minutes left, they finally scored their first goal. They were to make it down 2-1. They go empty net for the last minute and a half or so, 90 seconds, and they couldn't quite find that equalizer. But you're right. The rest of the first two periods, the whole third period, practically until that final 2 minutes, didn't really feel like a game. The Predators weren't in that. Vancouver controlled. They couldn't pass the ball. That was a tale of the power play. Vancouver just capitalized every time they were on the power play.
Right.
Got 2 goals off of it. And then last night, 3-1. The Predators are up. They feel like they're in control.
Yeah, I mean, and they look like a completely different team. Would you agree?
Oh, it was tape to tape on the passing. It felt like they had an identity as a team. They were moving quickly. The rotations were clean. It felt like they were physical. And it just got the whole crowd in it from the very get-go. I mean, not to mention you've got former left tackle for the Titans, Taylor Lewan there. He goes up. They show him on the Jumbotron. He chugs a beer. Then they show his daughter. His daughter chugs a water. She's like 7 years old. It was awesome. And then they show, future franchise quarterback Will Levis with his new center. The center snaps a catfish to Will Levis. It's their first snap that we've ever seen them have, and it was a catfish.
Yeah.
And so the whole crowd's into it. We're up 3-1, 2 goals in the matter of 2.5 minutes or so. The Canucks put up 2 goals to go to overtime, and one of those 2 goals in that last 2.5 minutes of the third period came with 6 seconds left. It felt like we've got this, and then it was unfortunate. And then just a little over a minute and change into extra time. The Canucks win 4-3. So that was a heartbreaker, Brian. That was a absolute heartbreaker.
So where do we stand now? I mean, and what are the statistical chances of a comeback at this point for the Predators?
Statistically, it's next to none. It's very rare, if at all, to see any 3-1 comebacks. Hockey, you may see it a little bit more often, but no, it's very, very unlikely. You've only seen it a couple of times in baseball, a couple of times in basketball. Hockey's pretty similar to that. So 3-1 is, in most sports, a little bit of a death sentence. Now, the Predators, if you want to look at it from the glass half full side of things, Brian.
Yeah, I do.
These games, let's do that. Game 1, I mean, the Predators are in control that whole game. 2 goals in 13 seconds. The Canucks end up getting kind of a fluky win there. Game 2, the Predators come back, win, and Vancouver, they tie the series. And then Game 3, you're right. that was maybe their ugliest game of the series. But 3 out of these 4 games, and obviously we just went over last night, 3 out of the 4 games, it felt like they had it. They had it right in their hands. So you just got to think, okay, maybe these next 3 go their way and they pull off the impossible. But they've got to get back to Bridgestone. That's the first step, right? So you got to win this next game, get back here to Bridgestone.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Mac. I appreciate it. And we'll see you back in the regular place tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. And thanks to Jay Harper for filling in for me.
All right. Sounds good. And with that point, it's time to hear some news from Jay Harper because it's 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
Good evening. Coming up on 5:31. And yep, I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 77 degrees now in Music City, the latest traffic report, and a wet weather forecast on the way. Pro-Palestinian protests continue today on college campuses all over the country. ABC's Karen Travers has the latest from the Biden administration on this situation.
The White House Monday didn't weigh in directly on how it believes universities are handling protests taking place on campuses across the nation. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre would not say if the president has spoken to the leaders of any of the universities where demonstrations are taking place, or say what the White House thinks administrators should do.
Americans have the right to peacefully protest, and we're going to continue to call out any type of hateful rhetoric, any type of potential hateful violence here. It has no place in America. Anti-Semitism, we're going to call out.
The Biden administration has also wrapped up its investigation into allegations that Israeli security forces violated the human rights of Palestinians. The review was conducted under what's known as the Leahy Law. That sets conditions for U.S. military support for allies. Stephen Portnoy, he has more from Washington.
The determination involves years-old allegations against Israeli forces operating outside of Gaza. State Department spokesman Vedant Patel.
We found 5 Israeli units responsible for individual incidents of gross violations of human rights.
Patel says the Israelis have remediated 4 of the units, meaning they'll see no curtailing of U.S. military aid. As for the 5th, an ultimate decision has yet to be made.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a 3-year-old boy shot in the head in Cheatham County earlier this afternoon. That's according to the Cheatham County Sheriff's Office. The toddler was shot at home in the small community of Henrietta. The boy was airlifted to Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. The child remains alive, but he is in very serious condition, according to the sheriff's office. The toddler's mother was at home at the time of the shooting. Investigators are at that home trying to figure out just exactly what happened. Authorities have yet to say whether any charges will be filed. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It's 38 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Hey, let's get you home, man. I hope it's going well for you on this beautiful day. I mean, it's 78 degrees outside. Still a little breezy throughout the day, but, you know, I guess that's what comes with the spring. You get a little breezy weather. But it was a nice weekend and good day today. Let's get home. You know, you get home, guess what? You still have time to pull some weeds in the front yard. I know. How exciting is that, right? I want to just talk a little bit about economic news. And first of all, let me just say, I know economic news is sort of like, so for some people, it's like watching, paint dry. It's pretty dull. But let me just tell you why I think it's really important to stay on this story is because we are in an election year, and we know from all of the polls, that don't just look at numbers, but where people are. We know that there are two things that are very much on the mind of Americans right now. Number one is immigration and what's going on the southern border. And that continues to be, in most polls, the number one concern of voters. And that's an area in which people say, well, Trump had it under control and Biden screwed it up, right? Then the second thing that's on people's minds when they go to the polls is, how am I doing economically? And how am I likely to do going forward? And the fact is, roughly, inflation is up since Joe Biden took office about 20%. It's up big time. And a lot of that is through because of the economic policies of the Biden administration, so-called Bidenomics. By the way, they for a while tried to keep telling us that Bidenomics was good. And they kept trying to make that case. And then they finally decided, you know what? It's not getting better. Maybe we should stop talking about Bidenomics. So they don't utter the word anymore over there at the Biden administration. But I mean, it's the economy, stupid. It's always a big thing. How am I doing? How am I doing? Money in your pocket is what you care about. Are you able to make it? Are you better off now financially than you were back during the Trump years? And that's why we get these statistics that say, more people look at Donald Trump as a successful president than now look at Joe Biden. They believe that the Trump presidency was a success and the Biden presidency has been a failure. You add to this the other things that are going on. Young people are leaving the Democrat Party. They're not going to vote for Biden. I don't know who they're going to vote for, but they're not going to vote for Biden because a lot of young people are upset about this whole Israel-Palestinian thing. And I think they got the wrong position. And I think over the course of time, they would come to have a different opinion if they actually wanted to stop and look at stubborn things like facts. But one way or the other, that's a problem for Joe Biden. He's losing black voters. He's losing Hispanic voters. He's losing voters left and right. And so all of these things are working against Joe Biden and to the betterment of the Trump campaign. So let's look at some of these economic numbers. And here are three stories that if I were the Biden administration, I would worry, right? All the data so far are showing inflation isn't going away and it's making things tough on the Fed. The last batch of inflation news that the Federal Reserve officials will see before their policy meeting next week is in, and it's not very good news. In the aggregate, Commerce Department indexes that the Fed relies on for inflation signals showed prices continuing to climb at a rate still considerably higher than the central bank's 2% annual goal, according to separate reports this week. Within that picture came several salient points. An abundance of money still sloshing through the financial system is giving consumers lasting buying power. In fact, shoppers are spending more than they're taking in, a situation neither sustainable nor disinflationary. Finally, consumers are dipping into savings to fund those purchases, creating a precarious scenario, if not now, down the road. Put it all together, it adds up to a Fed likely to be cautious and not in the mood anytime soon to start cutting interest rates. Just spending a lot of money is creating demand. It's creating stimulus. With unemployment under 4%, it shouldn't be that surprising that prices aren't going down. Spending numbers aren't going to go down anytime soon, so you have a sticky inflation scenario. Inflation is sticky, like maple syrup. It's sticky. Indeed, the data of Bureau of Economic Analysis reveals Friday that spending outpaced income in March, as it has in 3 of the past 4 months, while the personal savings rate has plunged to 3.2% its lowest since October of 2022. Dangerous scenario, stubborn inflation. Some people say we may be headed to a thing. And boy, I'm telling you, if this happens, it is a bad thing. It's called stagflation. That's right. Some people are talking about stagflation. Here's a second story, this one from justthenews.com. Biden administration faces fresh criticism as elevated inflation, poor GDP growth raise concerns. Illegal immigrants are invading both borders. Inflation is rising and draining the pocketbooks. America is experiencing one crisis after another under Joe Biden's failed leadership, tweeted Representative Elise Stefanik. Federal data released Friday show that inflation remains elevated. And the figures came out on the heel of another big report that the U.S. gross domestic product, that is how much has the entire economy grown, has underperformed. It has gone down significantly in each of the last 3 quarters. Big time. And that is not the way you want it to look. That you don't want it to go. And so, our economy is underperforming. Inflation is high. And the job situation, which might sound like good, it is good news when people have work. But when you have a very low jobless rate, it indicates that the economy is maybe a little superheated. And under those circumstances, you cannot bring down interest rates or you make the situation much worse. Now, that's the big deal. Remember, a lot of people right now are feeling pretty hacked off because they want to buy a home, but they can't afford the interest rates of 7.5%. They just can't. And so the way that has to come down is inflation has to slow so that the Fed can lower interest rates over time. But it hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't look like, I'm beginning to think that it won't happen this year at all. If it does, it will be after the election. So this is not good news for the Biden administration, which is hoping to get interest rates under control before people go to the polls in November. Here it is. Here's that word again. Mounting evidence is pointing to a nightmare scenario for the economy. This is from the Daily Caller. The U.S. economy is showing signs of stagflation as growth slumps down and prices continue to surge for average Americans, according to experts talking to the Daily Caller News Foundation. Annual economic growth measured just 1.6% in the first quarter, following a report of persistently high inflation in March of 3.5% year over year. 3.5% is not where they want to be. They want to be at 2%. Now, it's better than 9%, but when you add, you got to understand this is sort of like cumulative. It's like you look at, okay, Joe Biden came into office and in January 20th of 21, and since then, the cost of goods and services has gone up 20%. Your wages have gone up maybe a little, but not enough to keep up with inflation. Right now, you're about 3% underwater, and that cost you thousands of dollars more to live in Joe Biden's economy than it did to operate in the Trump economy. That's what you need to know. And so a lot of people are saying that stagflation may be right around the corner, and that would be a very bad thing. And then, and this is I can't believe that they've even done this, but they're serious about it. Joe Biden needs more money to pay for all of the things he wants to do, from global warming and Green New Deal initiatives right on down the line. He needs more money. And he has said that if he is reelected, he will let the Trump tax cuts lapse, which means that, in effect, for some time now, you've gotten the benefit of lower tax rates, and you've gotten used to it, right? It's like it. Remember when interest rates were low, we got used to it, and then all of a sudden they went up. Well, you've been used to having lower tax rates than perhaps you might imagine in the past. And Biden says he will let them lapse, effectively saying to every American, if you reelect me, I will raise your taxes. How in the world, against this backdrop of all this bad economic news, do you think it's a great idea to tell people that you can plan on me raising your taxes? And by the way, they'll try to make it sound like only the rich are going to have their taxes raised, but that's not true. Biden's election year budget calls for $5.5 trillion in tax increases by raising rates on wealthy and corporations while spending $7.3 trillion on defense, federal benefit programs, affordable housing, student debt cancellation, among other things. But it's not just the rich and the wealthy and corporations. The president's proposal, according to Brian Riedel, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, would saddle the U.S. with the highest sustained income tax burden in American history as a share of the economy. In other words, we're going to be paying more taxes than we have ever paid in the past. Arguably, the most egregious policy proposed by Biden would cripple American investment. His proposal to increase the top marginal rates on long-term capital gains and unqualified dividends to 44.6%, the highest level since the tax was introduced. Now, you say, how does that impact? Well, if you take all the people out there who have money, who have businesses, who hire people, and you'd start charging them more in taxes in a big way, guess what's going to happen? They're going to have to pull in their horns. They're not going to innovate. They're not going to grow. They're not going to continue to have jobs. In fact, they might have to trim jobs. And when that starts to happen, things really start going into a real cycle of doom. And all this stuff just points to me about one big picture, standing aboard all the numbers that we've given you. Just understand this. With all of this information, what you have is a situation where people are going to have to make a decision. Do I want to go back to the good days of Trump when the economy was strong, or take my chances that Biden is going to get it solved? A lot of people have just given up on Biden and his economy. And I think really when people if they vote their pocketbooks, they're going to vote Trump. If they're voting on immigration, they're going to vote Trump. And remember, all of the people who have been reliable Democrat votes, a great number of them are very disillusioned right now for one reason or another. Young people are leaving, black voters are leaving, Hispanic voters are leaving. Grand picture, the economy is hurting them, and they remember that, for example, during the Trump years, they had the lowest minority employment ever since like the 1960s. They remember that. So you got to keep an eye on this economy, and everything that I see right now suggests that it is not going to get better anytime soon, and interest rates are not going down. 51 past the hour now.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
3 police officers now dead after a shootout in a metro Charlotte, North Carolina neighborhood. We'll have details. The U.S. with concerns that Iran may be gumming up the works with Hamas in a potential ceasefire deal. And a Nashville drowning victim has been identified. Those stories and more coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you, Jay Harper. Also in the control room today is Mason Fleming pushing all the buttons. Both Chris and Mac Maury have the day off, although Mac was nice enough to call in. Wasn't that nice of Mac?
That was cool. Yeah, I saw him calling in, and I was like, "Uh-oh, did I do something wrong?"
I forgot to tell you he was going to do that.
It's all good.
But he called. He called at the very last second. Let's put it that way. All right, let me tell you about the folks over at Genesis Diamonds. Mother's Day is almost here, and my friends at Genesis Diamonds are here to help you celebrate her in a big way. Whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th Mother's Day, she will appreciate something thoughtful and timeless from Genesis. And you don't have to break the bank. Genesis has put together a fantastic collection of sentimental gifts, things that she can wear all the time, layered necklaces, colored gemstone bracelets and rings, pearls, eternity bands, diamond pendants. And this year, some of Genesis exclusive designers have come in from with even more great pieces for mom. New fashion-forward designs that any mom would appreciate. So stop in and let Genesis trusted advisors help you find a special and meaningful gift. Let the team at Genesis do what they do best, help you find the most perfect, most affordable, and most beautiful piece of jewelry for the occasion. Genesis is the premier jeweler here with a reputation for high quality and extreme value. You'll love the experience. Happy Mother's Day from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got 76 degrees, mostly cloudy conditions in Nashville. Traffic and weather, they're coming up. A deadly shootout has left 3 marshals and a suspect in North Carolina dead. The hours-long standoff in Charlotte happened after authorities went to serve a warrant in a residential area and were met with gunfire. A total of 8 officers have been shot, but 3 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers and another marshal struck by gunfire are said to be fighting for their lives. Police Chief Johnny Jennings describing the scene.
When they approached that individual, they were met with gunfire. Officers returned gunfire and struck the victim, who was later pronounced deceased in the front yard of the residence.
2 people who were in the home have been brought in for questioning. The deceased suspect has yet to be identified. Pro-Palestinian protests are ongoing again today on college campuses.
On college campuses across the country, more protests. This is what it sounds like at the University of Texas, Austin, as police again move in wearing riot gear, and a crowd again ignores dispersal orders at campuses including the University of Southern California, UCLA, and Columbia University in New York. Loud protests continue as well.
That's ABC's Alex Stone reporting. The U.S. has expressed concerns that Iran may influence Hamas in a ceasefire. In Monday's briefing, State Department spokesperson Vedant Patel he acknowledged that possibility.
Actions speak louder than words, and when it comes to the actions of the Iranian regime, the track record is pretty clear. They continue to be one of the largest exporters of terrorism. They continue to be a backer and funder of groups that have been focused on destabilizing and bringing violence to the region.
Back here in Nashville, crews recovered the body of a man who drowned after saving someone else in Percy Priest Lake Saturday night. Metro Police identified the victim as Harold L. Tomlinson, 34 years of age. His body was recovered from Percy Priest near the dam and Nashville shores on Sunday morning. Tomlinson reportedly jumped into the water from a rented pontoon boat along with several children to save a child who went underwater. The child was saved, but Tomlinson was not wearing a personal flotation device and never resurfaced. It's the first drowning death on the lake this year. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. 8 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 on this Monday, the April 29th. And we still got a pleasant 77 degrees outside, though it's been a little breezy today. Hope you're doing okay getting home. Hope you haven't had too much of a commute. I was downtown Nashville this morning. I have if we ever got a break during COVID, it seemed like there for a while, traffic got a little easier during COVID because not a lot of people were going downtown to work and then, and a lot of people working from home. And then we heard post-COVID that it was, not as bad as it had been. Well, it's as bad as it's ever been.
It is rough.
It is rough. I'm telling you, I don't want to rub it in because I have such, I have this amazing deal where I get to work at home but I still get out and go downtown now and then. And I tell you what, I feel your pain. I really do because it's rough. So again, the only thing I can do for you is try to keep you distracted. And while you're being distracted, hopefully, you're going to learn a little something. And you're gonna know what's going on in the world around you. So that's the plan. Every day, that's what we try to do. And again, boy, you have my sympathy. I'll tell you. This story out of Charlotte today has been really quite something. If you heard during our newscast with Jay Harper, this shooting in Charlotte, 3 U.S. Marshals, according to Fox News, have been killed. 5 officers are injured while trying to serve a warrant. And the suspect is dead, but 2 of the officers who were injured are in pretty bad shape. So this is a horrible thing. 3 U.S. Marshals killed, 5 officers wounded after a suspect opened fire on them as a U.S. Marshals task force was serving a warrant in Charlotte, North Carolina, Monday afternoon. During a Monday press availability, authorities said the suspect officers were serving the warrant on the one who initially opened fire. That suspect, police said, has been found dead. Police believe 2 shooters may have been involved. Said 2 people of interest were taken to the police station for further investigation. 1 person of interest is a 17-year-old juvenile. The other is a woman. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department initially reported that numerous officers were shot at the scene, which is in the Shannon Park neighborhood of Charlotte, if you know the area. So, again, really horrible thing. 3 U.S. Marshals dead, 5 officers injured, and 2 of them said to be in really bad shape as they are still trying to piece together how this thing spiraled out of control in Charlotte today. Interesting story I found today in PJ Media, which has to do with the classified documents saga surrounding Donald Trump. Now, one of the things I heard, by the way, over the weekend was Maria Bartiromo had the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee on her show for a brief moment this weekend. And he said, look, you know what? I have seen the list of things that Joe Biden had. And she said, this wasn't just insignificant stuff. It was deep, highly classified material. He said code words on these things. He said, I've been, doing this for a while as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and I think he had some background in that world beforehand. And he said, look, there were code words. I had no idea what they meant. This was deep stuff, and a lot of it probably still being in operation now. This is stuff that would have revealed, sources and method. And he said, and so, here's the thing, all of that. And by the way, he had it dating back to the time he was in the Senate. He had no protection then. As vice president, you don't get to claim any special privilege because you're not the president. Only the president gets to claim that. And Trump was the president. Well, I'm beginning to wonder if this thing wasn't a setup. Now, listen to this. Again, you know how I am loath to go down the path of conspiracy theories, but this one sort of makes sense to me. From PJ Media. This week in Florida, Judge Eileen Cannon unsealed a trove of new documents that Jack Smith had fought to keep hidden. And you'll soon find out why. Among the documents unsealed were extensive exhibits, motions, and other filings shedding light on the intricate web of communications between the Biden White House and the National Archives and Records Administration in the lead-up to Trump's indictment. You with me? Investigative journalist Julie Kelly found something interesting in the documents that could change everything. The first thing is testimony from an FBI agent who testified that the General Services Administration had been in possession of Trump's boxes in Virginia before ordering Trump's team to come get them. So an entire pallet full of boxes that had been held by the GSA, the General Services Administration, somewhere outside of D.C., ends up being dumped at Mar-a-Lago. Apparently, these are the boxes that ended up containing papers with classified markings. I will double-check the indictment, but I don't recall this event in the timeline, she added. So it appears the Biden administration may have been responsible for shipping classified information to Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. Now, this development is significant because Trump has previously blamed the GSA for packing the boxes that contain the classified documents, only to later accuse Trump of essentially stealing them and using them as a pretext for sending the FBI to raid his Mar-a-Lago home in August of 2022. Remarked Tom Fitton, the founder of Judicial Watch, it was a setup from the get-go. Meanwhile, Joe Biden had classified information that he was never entitled to, have stored in boxes in his garage for years, but was not charged. Biden blamed staffers for packing the classified information. While this may not prove the Biden administration set up Trump in the classified documents case, considering the way the Biden administration has abused the legal system against Trump, no one can confidently say they wouldn't. Even so, it still raises other legitimate questions. For example, if the GSA had been in possession of the boxes, why wasn't a review of the materials conducted before they instructed Trump's team to get them? When it comes to classified information, they wouldn't have expected Trump and his staff to be responsible for ensuring that classified documents weren't among the records. Perhaps they did review the contents of the box and knew classified documents were contained in them before they told Trump's people to come get them. Naturally, the mainstream media not talking about any of this. That's why we need readers this thing turns into a promotion for PJ Media. But I'm telling you, it's a fair question. If GSA knew they were there and knew that that these were classified and said the Trump people needed to get them, and so they just had them shipped down to Mar-a-Lago. And these are the same documents that apparently Trump is now facing charges for. But the thing that just chaps my butt about this whole thing is the fact that Joe Biden did far worse, and he gets to skate. He walks away. No charges will be brought. Why? Well, because he's a doddering old man who would present as a man with faulty memory. That doesn't mean that you get to skate. I mean, if you had those documents in your garage for years, and there were classified documents of the highest order, and according to the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, these were really secret stuff. This was big secret stuff, not just, sort of semi-classified. This was code word level stuff, so deep that he didn't even know the code words, and he gets to see everything. I'm telling you, that something about this does not smell right. And it now I'm beginning to wonder if indeed the GSA sent those down there so that there would be something for the FBI to find when they raided Mar-a-Lago. We know that there was coordination between the White House and the DOJ on this. They were well aware of what was going on and what was about to happen. It just doesn't smell right at all. Doesn't smell right at all. A little bit of woke news. We told you earlier today that Governor DeSantis said he will not comply with new Title IX rules. He has opposed President Joe Biden's Title IX changes that expanded the law around sexual discrimination to incorporate gender identity. He said, "We will not comply and we will fight back. We are not going to let Joe Biden abuse his constitutional authority to impose these policies here on us in Florida. We are not going to let Biden get away with it." DeSantis' statement follows similar comments by Florida's Education Commissioner and Louisiana Superintendent of Education, Cade Brumley. Title IX, enacted in 1972 to prohibit discrimination based on sex, was on April 19th by the Biden administration to cover discrimination based on sex stereotypes, gender identity, and sexual orientation. By the way, gender identity is now a protected status under EEOC rules, according to the Biden administration. That happened today. So then there's this story. Texas governor says that his state will not abide by the Biden administration's sweeping new changes to Title IX, the federal civil rights law prohibiting sex-based discrimination at government-funded schools. In a letter to Biden, Abbott railed against the revised rules, which provide new protections for transgendered students, saying they're illegal and the result of a ham-handed effort to impose leftist belief onto Title IX. You have rewritten Title IX to force schools to treat boys as if they were girls and to accept every student's self-declared gender identity. A growing number of Republican-led states have pledged to reject Title IX rules finalized this month by the Education Board. See, I think what you're going to see now, look, I mean, Democrats are waking up to the fact that there is a pretty fair chance that Donald Trump is going to win this election. And so they're trying to shove everything down into the system at the last minute. They're trying to do everything they can to implement these very leftist liberal policies that, you know, many of us have problems with. Trying to do as much as they can on the odd chance that Trump wins. I think Trump is going to win, but one way or the other, they're beginning to really freak out about it. And I think you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff in the next few days. A lot of stuff like EEOC rules, Title IX rules, etc., and a bunch of Green New Deal stuff. Count on it. And here's what I was telling you about. Feds warn that employers can be punished for failing to use preferred transgender pronouns and restrooms. It's a new regulatory guidance issued today after a 3-2 vote of the EEOC Commission. The U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission published new harassment guidelines, and they have included gender identity as a protected class in this country, which means that if your company does not follow these guidelines on gender identity, you could find yourself facing an EEOC complaint. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. You know, Grace Point Healthcare is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. You may ask how. Well, they're a direct pay provider. Your health care is delivered without the red tape of an insurer's guidelines. I mean, really, do you want the insurance company making decisions about what's right for you? Shouldn't that be between you and your doctor? Well, here's how it works. Starting at $69 a month, you can get a Smart Care plan. That's right, Smart Care plan. You get free office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. Again, starting at $69 a month. That could really pay off long term. Grace Point identifies and treats the root causes of your condition, not just the symptoms, utilizing a comprehensive functional approach, and by usually seeing you the same, or in some cases, rarely, the next day, you're treated at, here's a remarkable word, your convenience. Somewhere along the line, medical care stopped being convenient, didn't it? Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. They are located on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 615-599-6868. That's 599-6868 to set up your appointment.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, They want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
At the bottom of the hour here on WTN News, we will have a story about anti-Israel protesters on college campuses. As you've been hearing all day, they are remaining defiant. We'll also have today's closing money news. That's all at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Jay Harper. Here's one. You may not want your kids to hear this because they're gonna use it against you. I promise you they will. But I found that I've heard that there's a movement toward this position in some circles, and I don't know. I'm not sure I could ever do it. I mean, let's think about it. The alarm goes off in the morning. For most people, I think the first thing you do is you jump out and you get in the shower and you get ready for work. Right? You take a bath every day, shower, shampoo, and get dressed and get out the door. According to this. Daily showers can be harmful to your skin health. That's right. Maybe you don't want to take a daily shower. Daily showers aren't necessary and may not have any health benefits, according to some experts. This, according to Fox News. Proponents of less frequent showers claim that most people take them every day or multiple times a day, only because this has become the societal norm. Why are we washing? Mostly because we're afraid somebody will tell us that we are smelling, says environmentalist Donna McCarthy in an interview with the BBC. McCarthy said it's not actually Donna, I can't pronounce his name, but it's a guy. He says he only showers once a month, freshening up in the sink, with little sink washes, little, splash the face, little spit bath, take a wash rag, hit the key spots, I'm just telling you, that's what they're saying.
Sounds like they're diving in the bird bath out in the front yard.
Yeah, that's right. Approximately 2/3 of Americans shower every day, according to Harvard Health. And some of the most common reasons are to prevent body odor, freshen up after working out, or getting help to wake up. But according to Harvard Health Publishing, Dr. Robert H. Schmerling, he said that hot showers remove healthy oils and the good bacteria from the skin, and the end result can be that skin can become dry, itchy, or irritated. It may also become more susceptible to infections and allergic reactions, as harmful bacteria and allergens are able to enter through dry, cracked areas. Daily showers could also weaken the immune system, because they say your immune system needs a certain amount of stimulation by the normal microorganisms, dirt, and other things in the environment so that it can create protective antibodies and an immune memory. In other words, a little dirt's not bad for you. Get your immune system charged up. If you're too clean, your immune system doesn't have to fight any bacteria on your skin. They say also there's risk from exposure to the chemicals in water, including salts, heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride, and pesticides. And they say, man, some shampoos and conditioners and soaps are not all that good for you. Is it a compelling health issue? Probably not. However, doctors do say daily showers, they claim, do not improve your health and could cause skin problems or other health issues. And by the way, you're wasting a lot of water, they say. I've heard that there are people who don't wash their hands, and that they don't use, Purell. They don't take baths on a regular basis, and they say you get used to it. I don't know that I could get used to it. But I wish I'd have had this information when I was like 6 or 7 years old, because then, every night, gotta go take a bath before you go to bed.
You can go, actually.
No, Mom, actually, that's not good for you. Are you trying to hurt me? Are you trying to kill me, Mom? Because, the doctors say I don't need to take a bath. I don't know. But I don't know that I could change it. You know why? For me, it's like I wake up with bedhead, and to do anything with my hair, I need to go ahead and shampoo and wash it and then put the goop in it. Now, I noticed, Mason, you don't have that problem.
Well, I mean, you're looking at my hair now. It's a little wild. It sticks to the sides of my head if I don't shower in the morning. So to get it some kind of whatever it's doing now, it requires a shower.
I don't know, but they just know that the argument is out there that taking too many showers is not necessarily good for your skin or for your long-term health. Well, that's what they say anyway. Amazing. 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news with Jay Harper.
Good evening. It is 6:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. 75 degrees now with cloudy conditions on Music Row. Traffic and a wet weather forecast are on the way. Student protesters, they were given a deadline today to leave their pro-Palestinian encampment at Columbia University or face suspension. Well, they didn't go anywhere. Here's Dave Packer reporting.
Leave the encampment or face academic suspension. That from Columbia Monday to pro-Palestinian protesters. But as a 2 p.m. deadline passed, it became clear those students were going to stay. Protesters swayed up a lot, blasting the university's ultimatum.
Losing access to their housing, losing access to campus, losing access to health care on campus, and losing their right to graduation if they are a graduating student.
The students were given the opportunity to stay and continue the semester in good standing if they had left the encampment.
And now, here is the day's closing money news from Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks got a bit of a boost ahead of a week which is packed with reports that could move the market substantially. The Dow closed up 146 points. The Nasdaq added 55 for the session, and the S&P closed up 16 points. Shares of Tesla stock rallied after the electric vehicle maker's CEO, Elon Musk, paid an unexpected visit to Beijing over the weekend. Chinese officials reportedly told Musk that Beijing has tentatively approved Tesla's full self-driving or FSD software. Japan's currency took a major tumble. For a moment, it was 16 yen to the U.S. dollar, which is back to where it was in 1990, just after Japan's famous bubble economy burst. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's opened an investigation into Ford's Blue Cruise partially automated driving system after 2 fatal crashes. Both involved Ford's Mustang Mach-E electric vehicles.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
I want you to think back to the last time you were at an auto repair shop. Was it stinky, smelly, greasy old rags lying around, filth everywhere, a filthy countertop that you wouldn't dare touch? Well, another thing that stinks is repair shops that keep your car forever. They're not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they will. And if that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, it's time to think about Eurofix. Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit, no high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment, and never pay dealer prices. Eurofix now in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest facility in Mount Juliet, right across the street from the Dairy Queen. Call 844-EUROFIX, that's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
It's 39 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're about to wrap things up here. This is the last segment before we do the news at 7, and then you get to have Mark Levin, the great one. So I got a bunch of different stories I want to plow through here. Some of them are sort of, important stories. Some of them are just sort of fun stories. Let's end on a lighter note today. This is definitely not a lighter note. Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, was until just, I guess, yesterday, thought of as a very likely vice presidential running mate for Donald Trump. She has, there's a lot about Kristi Noem that's likable as a running mate. Now, she doesn't necessarily come from a big state. She doesn't come from a state where you really need the help. It's not a big electoral college state. But it would have been, I think, a nice package, Trump and Noem. I think that a lot of people thought that would be good. I don't know that that's where Donald Trump was, but she definitely was in the running until she told the story about Cricket, her 14-month-old puppy, some 20 years ago, who she came to hate. According to experts from her new book, No Going Back, The Truth of What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move America Forward, after Cricket attacked a local family's chickens and was a problematic presence on a pheasant hunting trip, Noem said that they led the dog to a gravel pit and shot it. The story led to widespread condemnation from Democrats, Republicans, and animal rights groups. And you can understand why. I mean, let's see. What is it? I saw the statistics here. Yeah. A majority of the country, 62% of Americans, are pet owners. Many of them are dog owners. And 97% view their pets as part of the family, according to a 2023 Pew Research Center survey. So hearing a story about somebody who, of course, I think it's different on a farm or on a ranch. They look at animals differently than you and I do. But apparently, she said, we took the dog out and killed the dog. And he, by the way, killed a goat, a mean goat, they said at one point. So a lot of people are saying there's no way that you wouldn't want to have this baggage that your vice presidential running mate was a dog killer. Unless she brought something else to the table that was very valuable, why would you bring her on now? And many people thinking that this story she recounted on her own. Nobody found the story and asked her about it. She wrote it in her own book. Maybe the thing that has eliminated her as a possible running mate for Donald Trump. The story is a little bit more, detailed than that. Apparently, they said that she felt like in farm areas and especially in ranching areas, you are required to kill a dog if it has violent tendencies, and she just thought that the dog was of an ill temper, and so that's what she decided to do. Look, I can tell you, I know my dog, Grogu. I don't know how, she doesn't come in contact with chickens, but I'm pretty sure if she saw some chickens, she'd chase down a chicken and kill it. She's killed a rabbit. She's killed 2 rabbits. She's killed a possum. She's killed several things. I mean, that's the nature of that dog. They are basically, critter getters. It's just like a Jack Russell Terrier. It's sort of instinctive. They would go after it. But, we don't look at Grogu that way. and Grogu is never going to be taken out back. I promise you. Sometimes I get pretty irritated with the dog. She's not the brightest dog to ever come down the pike. I love her, but she's not very bright in one way or the other. But I still would never consider it. And most Americans are that way as well. So, we opened up the phone lines and heard from a lot of people who said, I got a farm, I got a ranch. Yes, this happens sometimes, but I don't know why you'd write about it and put it in a book. That's the thing. Not every story needs to be told, as they say. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Congress returns after a little break. And when they come back, the real question is, will Marjorie Taylor Greene go forward with her motion to vacate the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Two other conservatives, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Paul Gosar of Arizona, have endorsed the effort, and if a vote were taken, there would not be enough Republican votes to protect him, and he would be vacated. However, somebody on the other side has said, several Democrats have said that they would rescue him, that they would cross over and vote for him in order to keep him as Speaker of the House. I don't know, however, how effective can you be as a Republican Speaker of the House if the only way you can keep your job is to be sort of saved by Democrats? Does that hurt you? I think it does. One way or the other, I don't think this is the right thing to do. I really don't. Not right now. Just dog paddle to the end of this term and revisit it in the next Congress is what I would suggest. But I'm not sure Greene is going to do that. She keeps making noises like she's going to pull the trigger on that thing. So we'll be watching to see tomorrow exactly what is going to happen there. Now, the White House has been denying a story that came out last Wednesday that it was a pretty interesting story that there had been an effort to try to get Karine Jean-Pierre to step aside as press secretary, that Biden wanted to fire her, but they didn't want to just come right out and fire her, as, you know, firing a black gay press secretary would not sit well in an election year with certain Democrat voters. And so they didn't really want to do that. So what they did was they sent people around to try to offer her another job that she would find interesting. In this particular case, they wanted to offer her the job of being in charge of something known as Emily's List, which is a Democrat fundraising mechanism that supports people who believe in protecting the right of an abortion. And so that was apparently thrown at her. She declined it. She reportedly, according to the story, said she's doing a fantastic job. She thinks she's just the cat's meow. She seems to be the best press secretary ever and would never consider leaving. And then there were these stories. Well, hold on. They started asking people on the record, well, did this really happen? And they started asking officials at the White House. And of course, their answer was, no. Of course, that never happened. It never happened. Well, this was the weekend of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And so a lot of people go to Washington for what we call the nerd prom. They put on the black tie, the guys do, and the women dress up, and they go to this big fancy schmancy dinner. The president's there and all that kind of stuff. Steve Doocy made the trip from New York to Washington, was there, hobnobbing. He said he ran into someone who said the story was completely true.
Actually, at that event, I was there, a White House official, a very high-ranking person, told me that the story was absolutely true. They would like her to step aside, but she just won't go.
Just won't go. So I believe Doocy probably is right. And all of these people who, of course, if you're asked on the record, were you trying to get her to move along? Of course you're going to say no. But I think there really was an effort. And she now the question is, will she stay? Because if she tries to leave now, it'll make it look like she got run out. So it looks like they're stuck with her. She's not going anywhere. She is. I was writing down the other day of all the press secretaries I worked with in the 31 years that I was in Washington, people that I went to briefings on. She's by far the worst example of a press secretary that I've ever seen. She just doesn't have the gift that she needs to be able to roll with the punches. It's either we take this very seriously, we're being very consistent about this, or the last one, I just don't have anything for you on that. A lot of that. So, again, I believe it probably is true. But White House officials are now officially denying it. Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms are out at the NFL today. Boomer Esiason and their contracts were not picked up. They're not being renegotiated. Huge makeover with Matt Ryan and J.J. Watt now joining James Brown, Nate Burleson, and Bill Cowher. This all came out, I think, over the weekend. I used to watch that show, and I would say, I don't think that Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms like each other very much. They didn't seem to like each other too much. and weren't the warmest, fuzziest people on television, that's for sure, especially Boomer Esiason seemed to me. Phil Simms seemed like a nice enough fellow, but Boomer Esiason always seemed to me sort of be a cold fish. But one way or the other, after, I think, 20-some-odd years doing that show, they are no longer going to be there. And I'll leave it with this. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. The cicadas are emerging. It's been 13 years since millions of cicadas took over Middle Tennessee, but already in Murfreesboro, official reports, some have been spotted emerging, and it's going to be quite the thing. Billions and billions and billions of cicadas. It's now starting. They look like ants once they hatch, and they start digging back into the ground to find a tree root after the eggs, and they stay there for 13 years or maybe sometimes 17 years. Depends on what kind of brood it is. But get ready, ladies and gentlemen. According to official reports from Murfreesboro, the first cicadas have been spotted. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. You know, this time of year, you might want to think about looking at these things because we've had a lot of rain, and you notice United Structural System is the place to go for structural problems, but they also do waterproofing. And check around. If you see standing water in a crawl space or a wet basement wall or musty odors or floor joists with wood rot, cracks in basement floors, or hardwood floors that are cupping because of all the moisture underneath, your house is trying to tell you something. Call the folks at United Structural Systems. They'll come out, they'll give you a once-over, give you their best advice as to what can be done to make the situation better, and they have the solutions, trust me. You decide to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the job is done, and you are completely satisfied. As I said, they've been around here for 25 years, more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. At USS, they guarantee their best, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, online at USSTN.com. Here's the number, 615-488-7855.